Welcome to It's No Secret, a podcast for those who want their money questions answered.
Join us as we talk to real Kiwis and share truths about our own financial lives, because the truth is, there is no secret to achieving financial freedom.
Welcome, Stanley. Thanks so much for joining me on the podcast.
Yeah.
Awesome to chat money with you today.
Yeah, cool, excited.
Yeah, so let's jump right in.
Yep.
Let's start, or we typically like to start at the beginning with a lot of our Money Moments episodes. I'm keen to understand what your relationship with money was like growing up.
I didn't have a relationship. Like, we were pretty poor growing up. I grew up out south of Manadura. So when I say poor, like, there were moments of time. Like, Dad was a bit of a hustler, real estate agent at one time, had different businesses and things, bit of a serial entrepreneur. So I saw a lot of peaks and troughs of money. So it was a bit of boom and bust for us. But I essentially grew up with nothing, no money. But we weren't like poverty, but we were just we didn't have nice things. Yeah. Like, as an example, the guys had a skateboard at work the other day, and I popped an ollie, and they're like, "Oh my god, that's crazy! Like, did you use a snowboard and stuff as well?" I was like, No, that we don't have money for snow. What is snow? Yeah. I literally, my first skateboard was a plank of wood with some roller skates attached to it.
That's pretty good Kiwi ingenuity, though.
That's the sort of level of money. So I didn't have a lot of money. So I grew up, I still remember, I used to have scrapbooks where I'd cut out of like the warehouse catalogs all the stuff I wanted and build my little like wish. So yeah, my relationship with money growing up was I had none, and when I got it, I spent it in getting the things I wanted. Which, when you're young, was typically lollies, and when you're in your 20s, it was alcohol, fun, booze, travel. I was dumb in my 20s.
Yeah, I mean, aren't we all?
Yeah, typically. Like, and if you're not, it's like, man, who taught you that? That's awesome.
Yeah. And so did you see that translate through to your job, or like how did that kind of show up in terms of your career progression, or maybe habits or beliefs that you carried?
Yeah, I think for me, so there was a pretty clear divide when I was about 25 where I learned more about money and how to manage money better, which we can get into. But prior to that, I was pretty hopeless with it. Like, I was going through uni. I was a kid who had 2 bank accounts, so I could get 2 different interest-free overdrafts and things like that, and it just blew the money and didn't do anything. And I just never had any money. Wasn't very good at paying my bills and, getting into trouble, and I had no parents to bail me out, so I just got into more trouble in terms of money. Mm-hmm. And then when I moved to Australia, I was 21, and for about 4 years, I sort of had the same habits, but I really had no safety net now because I really had no one. And I got into some financial troubles that made me like, I'd go to work, I'd earn money, and that was fine, and I could earn lots of money. I was good at getting work, but I just spent it just as fast. So it meant that I worked a lot to try cater for this dumb lifestyle that I had. But then I eventually, like, some things started to click. I was like, I can't just keep doing this. Something had to change, which eventually did when I had a partner who taught me budgeting. She's like, nice. No one, you don't know what this is. I was like, nope.
Time to start learning.
Yeah, that was it. And so the first year I started budgeting, I was like 24. I was 24. We had a goal for a year to move to the UK to do our, 2-year visa sort of stint. And that year, the two of us, who both are on about 60K a year, we saved 40 grand, 38 grand. Yeah, we just like went hard. Had the whole little tins and put our money in and just did everything. Literally spent nothing. Ate all my meals at work because I worked in hospo, so I ate everything at work. And that really set me up to go, okay, now I know how to manage it now. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's so interesting. That's not a lot of money to live on. Like, for 2 people, like 20 grand a year or something like that, right?
It's nothing.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, well, like living with her dad. We still had to pay rent, but we're living with her dad. It was quite affordable. Literally, because in hospo, this is the thing with hospitality is that you don't get paid a lot, but there's lots of perks. Mm-hmm. So, like, literally every single meal was at work. Yeah. Just every meal. Like, I'd have dinner before coming home. Yeah. And so with my partner. And, like, we had, like...
Oh, did she work in
hospital as well? Yeah, that's where we met. And, my chefs would go, Stan, here's some food to take home for the weekend. Like, they were all in on it.
So good.
One of my chefs at the hotel would, like, trade me a case of beers for food because I was the food and beverage... I was in food and beverage. But I manned the fridges. So he was like, give me a case of beers and I'll give you some food to take home. Because he knew what we were trying to do and he just wanted some beers. He was the head chef of the hotel. He could definitely afford his own beers. But anyway, So you could say that, like, yeah, there were some perks of
Yep.
the job that helped me get through, and it was like pretty aggressive saving, but we literally just went hard on it, everything we could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find it quite interesting that you clearly had this like belief that I'm capable of earning,
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
And then it's like, once you kind of like, it's like the marketing funnel, once you
Yeah.
plug the holes at the bottom where it's like with the spending, right?
Yeah.
Then you were able to kind of maintain it to make it more like, if you continue to grow your income.
I've never been worried about getting money. It's always been about keeping it. I've never been worried about getting money. I actually think like earning money is really easy. It's just people aren't really they're not that willing to do the things it takes. Like it can be pretty demoralizing, some of the stuff you got to do to get the money that you need, and you got to play a long game strategy. Like I talk about, like in hotels, the only reason I got through hotels is I did so much free work, so I could learn the skills I needed to then get the work I wanted. So I went in hotels, for instance. I went in food and beverage, and so clearing tables and just doing basic waitering jobs. But I would go down to concierge and be like, I want to work here. How do I do this? And he's like, well, you need to know how to do concierge. I was like, I'll be here every Saturday, Sunday. You'd teach me how to do this.
Yeah, wow.
And then I did it for months. And then he's like, oh, I've got someone calling sick. Can you cover? And I was like, do I get paid? And he's like, yeah. I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And so he put me on roster, and then they just snowballed. And then I learned all the departments, which then they were like, you're doing 60 hours a week. We need to pay you overtime. We can't do this anymore. And I was like, no, but I want the money. They're like, we'll make you salary and we'll promote you. And then that kicked off my career.
Yeah.
So I've never really been concerned about finding money. I'm really bad at holding it. Yeah, even now.
Really?
Like,
Even
yeah,
now?
if I want to, I can.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
But I don't really want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never had any desire to just accumulate lots of money.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you invest?
I have, well, I was lucky because so much of my career is in Australia.
Yeah.
My partner and I there's enough money already in that super account that when we retire, it'll be, $4 or $5 million kind of thing.
Nice.
So that's a real good safety egg for us, just because we have good jobs and, Australia's super scheme is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So, and then we salary sacrificed a lot as well while we're there, because I was
Yeah.
like, get $100 out of my pay each week, but knowing what it would do in the future. So I have this big nest egg, my wife and I, that we know we can retire on if we lose all our money from now until then.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that's why now I'm like not that worried about putting stuff away.
Yeah.
I'm much more worried about like how big can I build this thing. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. That's so
Yeah.
interesting. Like knowing in the back of your mind you've got this kind of like pot,
Yeah.
and also that you can't access it.
Yeah.
From now to
Literally
65.
can't touch it.
Yeah. And it has to be used for retirement either. It's not like you can pull it out for a first time like you can in New Zealand as well.
And look, I still pay, because I pay myself a salary now. I still I still put into KiwiSaver.
Yeah.
So we still put a lot of money into KiwiSaver quite aggressively. Because we want to keep adding to it, even though we don't need to. We just thought, why not? We don't really need the cash right now.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And you as the employer can match it with.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
For a big time when my cash flow was a bit better than it is now.
Yeah.
I was putting in 10% and I was matching 10%. So,
yeah, wow. That's a decent chunk of your
my
overall.
KiwiSaver, I've only been getting, for a few years on. I was only paying myself $48,000 a year.
Yeah.
And it's still a pretty big chunk in there now, for me and my wife equally.
Yeah.
So we managed to rack up a lot of KiwiSaver really fast.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So do you own property?
Nah.
No. And any thoughts or desires to do that?
I can't think of anything worse.
Tell me more about that, because this is quite contrary to like a lot of New Zealanders, right?
I'm not a really big believer in the mortgage system. I don't think that the mortgage system is designed very well. I think it's an outdated system for today's modern world. I think that I think for some people it's fantastic. I think for some people it's one of the best. It's the only way that they'll build wealth because of just their abilities and where they're at in life and their desires actually and ambitions. So I think as a vehicle, it is really good for some people. But for someone like me who's has no fear of making money and high growth and is such a passion in business, I just don't think it's the right move for us. Like I'd rather put all that capital and energy into growing businesses.
Yeah.
And I know I can grow a business much faster than a house will appreciate in value, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like our revenues are doubled every year, and that's my thing. It's like, how do I just keep that going?
Yeah.
There'll become a time where we buy property because you just will.
Yeah.
There's going to be a time where my wife's like, I want my own house, Dan. I don't want to rent anymore.
I want to do the gardening in my own lawn.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. But I've got this dream of just because I said this to my brothers and, they're classic Kiwi men who are just like, let's buy homes and have homes.
Yeah.
And get mortgage. One is a mortgage broker.
Oh, okay.
Like,
so that must be some interesting dinner table chat.
100%. And my parents were real estate agents at part of their life.
Yeah, right.
Property's been paid, and that's probably part of my trauma of that. But it is. I've always said like, one day I'll just buy it cash. Like I'll just buy a house cash, and they're like, you're
maybe
idiots.
when you're 65 and you're super.
Yeah, that's it. That's it exactly.
And you've got back home to do the gardening. Like, so.
I also just think that with housing, like for us, my wife and I are quite nomadic in the way that we like to live. And so she doesn't like the idea either right now of having this ball and chain holding her down, because she is also quite ambitious and wants to do stuff. And the New York is the reason we've been trying to go to New York and open the office there is she loves that idea of like living for a few years in different places and moving around. And now that she understands the equity inside the business we own, she's like, okay, cool. So we're sweet. We've got our super. We're building this business. We're like financially quite stable. We'll always have income because of it. Well, as long as the business is there. But we don't need a house. Like doesn't help us at the moment. In fact, it will only hurt us on the path that we're currently on. So not at all interested.
It's it must be quite freeing, because I have a similar perspective. Maybe not as like far down that I don't need a house, because I think ultimately like it would be nice to have my own garden and that kind of thing. But me and my partner don't own property, despite like everyone I know doing it, right? And it is quite freeing to like know that, well, I can leave my apartment and just not pay the rent, like, and we can move if we want to, all that kind of stuff, right? And I don't have to pay for the hole in my roof to be fixed, like that kind of thing.
Oh, absolutely. I understand if you can only see it the only way that you know how to build wealth, and I think people should do it then. I don't want people to not buy homes because they heard some bald guy on a podcast saying don't buy a home and start a business. Like that's just silly. Like you shouldn't take advice from people that way. But I think that if you're someone who thinks like I do that, or at least you're someone who likes to have in the short term some nomadic lifestyle, have that freeing ability to be able to like, you know what, why don't we go work in the UK for a couple of years, or why don't we move to Australia or go to Dunedin, or who knows, like do whatever. There are people, I'm not the only one obviously, who thinks that way. And I think that there are better ways in the short term to invest. And I think that like I used to we pulled it out, we've done other things with it, but we used to have quite a bit of money in index funds. And just like put it in Australia and put money in there and just let it grow. Because I was like, this money is just going to get spent otherwise. I literally will just spend it on some more Nikes or something. So let's just like put it away. And we did. And we've since used it for the business instead. We took it out of that and decided to use it for the business. But for me, I was like, everyone else has this big fixed brick and mortar asset, but mine's like in my pocket. Like it's on my phone. I can like show you the asset. And so when I move countries and do things, I can take it all with me, kind of, that's like the mentality I had. But like I don't want anyone to think owning a house is bad. I just don't love the concept of mortgage.
Fair enough. It's also like on the index fund thing, because obviously Kernel is an index fund provider, right? And we talk about the liquidity piece in that you too, like having it, you can sell out within a couple of days if you really need the money, whereas you can't sell like your bathroom to fund your retirement is the thing that we always talk about.
I'm a big believer in it. I mean, mine was from so that partner who taught, it's not my current wife, but my ex-partner who taught me budgeting, her mum was part of that equation for us, and she brought me the Barefoot Investor book. And she's like, read this, and I read it and I was like, okay, I'll go buy some index funds.
I'm gonna make my buckets. I got it.
So that's essentially what she did, because she's like, you're an idiot, go learn how to you're gonna take my daughter across the world, you need to know how to save your money.
She's like, I need to invest in your knowledge so that she's all good.
100%. That's exactly what it was. So those are some of the foundations on saving. But these days, my mindset has very much shifted to I don't save the way I used to. I thought I could spend a lot of energy trying to save, or I could spend that same energy making more money. And so that's kind of where my energy goes now. But like I said before, I still pay into KiwiSaver. I'm very much like committed to doing that and doing as much as I can. We still do smaller investments when we get opportunities with clients and things, like investing in people's startups and things, like not lots of money, but just where we can, money that we're willing to lose. Putting it in things like that. But I haven't gone back in the share market.
Do you, so in the investing in other businesses, is that solely like a lump sum of money, or do you do also contra in terms of like
both?
Yeah, okay.
Both. So there's a few businesses that we gave money to. This t-shirt brand, for instance, like we invested in them. They're from Sydney.
Cool.
We invested because they got this technology called Magic Fit. And so the idea is that you put in your height, weight, and age, and they get you perfect fit out of it using this algorithm. And I was like, I only wear their t-shirts every day. So I spend
perfect. You're like
I probably spend more money on their t-shirts than I invested in them, to be honest. But so I invested in them when they did their first round. They're like, hey, all our top customers, like we're offering you a chance, obviously. Top customers. That's just a good marketing technique. And then Mevo.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Mevo?
Yeah.
It's like, we don't own a car. Because
really?
again, it's another ball and chain. So
you guys are so like international.
Yeah,
like I feel like you've got a very European kind of perspective on lifestyle and money. From what I'm hearing,
just don't like balls and chains. Like our whole apartment's furnished,
so
we don't own any of our furniture. I mean, we've got this office in Greyland that's huge and full of stuff that we actually own, but it's the businesses, so it's different. But we don't own a car. We sold. We had a car before we moved into Greyland, and then Claire got into someone rear-ended Claire, wrote the car off, and I was like, let's just try this Mevo thing for a bit. And she was like, I love it. It's so good. I get a brand new car every day. And
a really nice one too.
Really
like
nice
a
one,
Tesla.
Like Tesla, Polestars. It's really nice.
Yeah.
And also Uber. Like here, I just Ubered here.
Yeah.
It's cheap as. It was like $8 or something to get here.
Yeah, nice.
And we don't need to own a car or have one. And we were in New York for 4 months. We would have had this like $60,000 asset just sitting there.
Depreciating. Yeah.
Whereas I just stopped paying, like I wasn't taking Mevo, so it didn't cost me anything.
Yeah. So when you are in New York or like traveling for work, do you then just Airbnb out your place? Because if the furnishings aren't yours, are you like detached from them?
So the first time we gave it to one of our staff to live in, Alicia, who's been with us for a long time, so that, because it's right next to the office, just to keep an eye on the office, because that's what we did security-wise. Yeah. She didn't want to do it again, because she's like, I'm too close to work. Like, I couldn't get my head out of it, so she didn't want to do it again, which is fine.
Yeah.
And so this time, I was expecting to come back a lot more when we first left. So we didn't Airbnb it out because we had just left it. Like, I ended up having 2 wardrobes and 2 everything. One in New
just
Zealand,
double
one in New
the
York.
T-shirts. Yeah.
So when I flew back from New York this time, I was expecting to go back, but then we made the decision to bring the girls back. But I traveled like this. I jumped on an 18-hour international flight with my phone and my passport. And then I was like, "Where's your luggage?" I was like, "It's in New Zealand already." Like,
I think I saw your reel or something. I was like, "How does he do this?"
I had a backpack, and in my and it was only my backpack because my pillow.
Oh, what, like not neck pillow, but like actual,
like my actual pillow to take
also,
home.
you clearly care about your sleep.
Yeah, my sleep's super important. I'm a terrible sleeper.
Oh, really?
So like everything I can do to get good sleep. Because you when you run a business, it's pretty stressful.
Yeah.
And stress keeps you up. So
yes, it does.
I try to sleep as much as I can.
Yeah. So I guess overall sentiment that I'm getting on the money journey is that clearly you've got an amazing work ethic. I think which underpins obviously your time in hospital and like upskilling and like obviously the mindset around growth and like investing in yourself also as like backing yourself, because that's ultimately what I see as like starting and growing a business is you're making a bet that you can do the thing and grow the thing, right?
Yeah.
What would you say to someone that's a very risky strategy? Because, you know, like typically for a lot of business owners, you talked about building up your index fund portfolio and then you go all in one. So you're not diversified outside of your obvious super. Yeah.
So for me, and what I say to a lot of people with our situation, because they'll ask the same question, I say I'm in a fortunate position because of the superannuation and the fact that Australia has that such a good program that I worked so much my adult career in. I really am so set up because of it, and because I had good jobs and I earned good money when I was in as a GM in hotels. I really set myself up. So it's hard to say. When I say I've gone all in, it's like, I have.
Kind of,
But like, even if this business falls over, am I capable of going to get another job? Yeah, of course I am. Like, I'm not, you don't just quit your job, try a business, and therefore you're unemployable. Like, it's just not how it is.
Yeah.
So I'm not, so that's the first thing. I know I could just go get another job. If this business falls over, get another job. And I know that I don't need to really save for my retirement anymore. I've done it. I actually put a lot of money away really early.
Yeah.
And, and when I was in my 20s, so using compound, I'll be good. Like as long as the world doesn't come to an end, I'll be fine. But then I got bigger problems to deal with anyway, right? That's kind of my mindset. Like super drops in value, there's way bigger problems than my super.
Yeah.
Like the world's not in a good place. So
Yeah.
that's, and you know, most investment people tell you the same thing. Like you're backing the Australian state to succeed.
And if the like Australian top 500 have fallen over, like way bigger problems.
Way bigger problems. Yeah. There's way bigger problems. So in that instance, it wasn't that risky for me because my retirement was looked after and I know I could get another job. I also, what a lot of people do when they go into business that I've seen, obviously the problem we help with is that they aren't investing in the business long term.
Yeah.
It's often a very like, New Zealand's a very boat, batch and BMW sort of society, right?
So true.
That's what they all do.
Yeah.
My brother's the same, everyone's the same.
Yeah.
Like it's not a bad thing, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
And so there's often like my first accountant said to me straight to my face, you need to start extracting more money out of your business. There's no value in your business. Pull it all out, buy property. And I was like, I'm going to go get a new accountant.
Yeah,
we're
good.
obviously misaligned in our goals.
Is that how you found Keep the Change?
No, actually, he's not actually my accountant, but I have another accountant. But yeah, that's how I found them because I was like, I need, and the particular accountants that we use, like their whole things, they're like younger, similar to Luke's model too, like very scale up style mentality of like grow at all costs kind of thing.
Yeah.
But sensibly, obviously.
Sustainable over the long term. Yep.
Exactly. So for me, it was from day one, build brand. And I knew that in a service-based business, there is no differentiator, like just literally zero differentiator in service. Like the businesses don't understand the difference between me and any other social media or advertising agency. They don't, no one knows. It's not their world, so they don't get it. Yeah. The only difference that there is can I build a bigger brand than all the other social media agencies? Yeah. And so we just set out to do that from the beginning. And originally it was just my brand. How big can I build on LinkedIn? Because that's the platform I knew. Yeah. And then over time we then hired in the resources to do other platforms. Obviously Joni's been a big part of that to be the face of our TikTok and Instagram. Yeah. But the same with the podcasts and the newsletters and all these things. That's all brand building. That's my investment. Yeah. So even if the business starts to slow, like even if say the business fell over, that brand doesn't go away the next day, you know, that's the investment piece I'm doing. So where people say it might be risky, it is if you are just still burning everything. But because I'm focusing so much on brand, and like I told you off camera, like we spend an exorbitant amount of money for the size of our company on brand and internal marketing. I think that I am diversifying that risk quite a lot in that I'm not just building my brand. I've now got the company brand. I've got the newsletter brand. I've got the podcast brand. So I've got multiple brands that do different things and have different value. And then KiwiSaver, again, separate to the Australian one. And these little pockets of investments that we did in different places. Yeah. I just haven't gone, oh, you know what? I should go buy a house, diversify into a house. Yeah.
And is that really diversified? No.
Exactly. You know? It's not a big thing. Whereas I have made really strategic decisions with the business to be diversified in that don't put all my eggs in the New Zealand market. Don't put all my eggs in one industry. Don't put all my eggs, you know? So like going to New York and Australia and getting clients there was a big thing. Yeah. Not a lot of clients like, oh, what sort of verticals do you work in? I was like, literally nothing. Like our target market is the challenger brands of any market. Right. You know, like we want the number 2 who's trying to attack the number 1. That's who we want. Like we want those clients.
Why? Why is that?
Oh, because they're willing to do
the scrappy
cool
stuff.
shit. Yeah, they're willing to try. They've got nothing to lose. Yeah, it's so true. You know, like One New Zealand's like one of our clients and they're amazing because Spark's the biggest. Yeah. We know, everyone knows they are. Yeah. But so One NZ's like, let's just do what we can and smash them.
Bring it on.
And, you know, we have like recently, we're just talking today how now we got them, One NZ's Instagram and TikTok is combined followers is more than all the other telcos combined. Wow. And that it would never have happened with the other telcos because they play it safe, especially Spark. Yeah. And that's not to Spark's fault. They're the incumbent. Of course they're going to play it safe. Yeah, Why would they do something risky? Yeah. And it's like Nike, like we talk about, like I love Nike. But they'd be a terrible client for us because they're like, we don't need to do crazy stuff. We just need to put our tick on things and we win. Yeah. So it's not that fun for us, which is why we actually have a lot of B2B brands.
Oh, really?
Because they're like, they have to be scrappy because B2B marketing sucks.
Yeah, it does.
You know? So like, and then they see us doing what we do and they're like, we want to do something like that. Yeah. Like, sure. So I guess from a risk perspective, if businesses are asking that, I don't actually see it that risky. I see that like my personal wealth, I'm taking care of when I'm 65 or whatever, I can get 67 when I can get my super out. I'm still putting away KiwiSaver. I am building a business which I'm trying to invest and grow, and that could fall over, but therefore, rather than investing just in the revenue and the profit, I'm investing in the brand as well.
Yeah, so what does like a financially sustainable business long-term look like? Like, what does that mean to you?
To be honest, for us, it would be other businesses. Like, we always see the attention seeker just being the engine room for the other businesses that make the money.
Yeah, okay.
Like, service-based businesses, you always... there's always a limit to how much they can grow. Like, you could still be a multi-billion-dollar company as an agency. There's FCB and Ogilvy and whatever.
Yeah.
But actually, like, in today's world, it's probably better to get to a point where we can run a joint venture or have our own startup that we know how to get the attention straight away, and build it that way. And that for me is like, you build those and sell those, you know.
And then you take that capital and invest it in other stuff. Yeah, okay.
Exactly. So that's how we kind of see it long term for us. Like, the attention seeker, people often ask us, what's the extra strategy from attention seekers? Like, no. Attention seekers never going away. Yeah. Never. That's mine. Yeah. It's all the other businesses we create inside of it. Yeah. You know, like, we're just not at that point yet to really do our own brands inside of it, outside of the media brands that we're building. Yeah, okay.
Because I definitely personally had a bit of a belief that why would you start an agency? Like, how do you make money from this? Because it's like you're selling time, and time is very hard to scale. Yeah. And then you have the classic thing where you've got the seniors and the juniors, and you charge out the juniors at the senior rate, and then there's a whole breakdown in quality and blah, blah, blah.
That model is just an outdated model that a lot of New Zealand agencies hold on to, but globally it's not really the same. Like, so in New York, for instance, a lot of agencies charge like we do, which is just based on retainer. Right. And so you are charging for an output, a delivery, or a goal. Yeah. And what's that goal worth to you? It's worth this much a month. Okay, cool. Well, we can make that happen. Yeah. This is what we're going to charge for it. And then it's my goal to get that as efficient as possible. Yeah. Right? Rather than going, hey, we put 8 people into this room in this meeting with you, therefore we got to charge you all this money. Like, that model's just a bit shady these days, and people understand it's not, like, it's definitely moving from that. Yeah. The rest of the world's, like, the big centers like New York and London have moved away from it a lot in the advertising world. A lot of them are this more value-based retainer model, and it's actually more profitable. Yeah. It's actually, you end up paying more as a client for technically, but you know you're getting the value you want out of it because the contract's tied to the value. Yeah. So it's not tied to the people in the room. Yeah. So if they're not getting the value, you just let the agency go. Yeah. So it makes you have to perform. Yeah. And luckily we play in a space where it's quite easy. Well, I don't say it's easy, but because we're able to go quite viral and whatnot, and that's our specialty. Yeah. It's quite easy to show, we hit the thing you said you wanted to hit. Yeah. Especially if you've got a formula, I guess, or you've got maybe not a formula, but like an approach that works. Exactly. And I think, like, when people talk about it's hard to scale an agency, I think the problem is that people don't know how to deal with people very well. And that's the reason they can't scale. But there's actually 8 billion people, so it's not that hard to scale people, right? There's heaps of them. Yeah. Like, just hire more. People are scared to hire. They're scared to take on that risk of getting other people to do things. Yeah. They're scared of, like, having to lead people. You know, like, they're scared to build teams. And I'm very much not.
So on that piece around, like, people being scared of hiring and scaling and those kinds of things, like, you mentioned that you're not, scared of that. Why do you think people are scared of it? Is it the fear of failure? Is it that, leading people? Is that, I'm now responsible for those people's growth? Like,
I mean, ultimately, it's always the fear of the unknown. They don't know the things they don't know. Yeah. I think people find it really hard to treat people differently to how they do things themselves. Okay. So when you're a leader, when you're a business owner and you've grown something, and the work and effort that you put into it is always crazy. Like, if you've at any point to start hiring people, you've worked your ass off to get there. Like, very few business owners just luck their way into a good, profitable business. Yeah. So when you go to hire people, it's quite hard because, like, employees don't have the same desire to give their all to it. Yeah. Some do, of course, but why would they? Like, they don't get the upside either, right? They're not getting the asset value or the profit later on. So there's that's one big piece. I think people go, these people, and it's hard to get good people. I can't find good staff. And it's like you're just trying to find you, but you wouldn't work for you. Yeah. So, like, what are you trying to do? So I'm really good at understanding that, like, you hire people for who they are and what they are, and work out how you get the most out of them to keep it profitable.
Yeah.
So I don't hire someone and be like, I need you to do all this sort of stuff. We hire people in based on a cultural conversation. Do they plug a hole inside of our team that we have missing, and plug them in? That's what we kind of mean when we say cultural fit.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we do that, then they have a base skills. They've shown some demonstration of skill that they're done.
Yep.
But then the first few months, you really are assessing them to go, okay, where are your strengths and weaknesses? What sort of personality are you? Where do you best play?
Yeah.
And then how do I best make profit off of you?
Yeah.
Rather than like what you typically would do is go, here's my set of defined things. You need to be able to fit this. And if you don't, you can go.
Yeah.
So I just don't know if that's the right model, because people don't just fit in boxes. So it's better to bring them in and build the box around them.
Yeah. But how do you do that? Like, is that a way of thinking or a structure that works when you have, like, when you're the business owner, do you know what I mean? And you have the ability to mold that and things? Or like, how do you, because you've worked in like a corporate, right?
Yep.
How, as a middle manager, or, you know?
Oh, it's the same approach. What it is that people aren't willing to work on people. They're not willing to give the effort to figure out that box that they're in, and they just go, hey, we told you what the job description is, do the job description.
Yeah, right.
But you made the job description without asking them. They weren't there. You didn't even know their name before you made the job description, and then you just decided you better be able to do this.
Yeah, right.
And it's just not how people work, right? Like, we're not all just cookie cutters.
Yeah.
So my approach is, you get people in, you learn who they are, you find out how to get the best out of them. It's your job as a leader to do that, not their job to show you how they do the best in their role. It's my job. It's always my responsibility to see how I get the best out of you, not your job to prove to me that you're the best. Because if you were the best, you would have your own agency doing your own thing. Or, you know, you'd be in another scenario right now.
Yeah.
So I just think, like, it's quite hard to get into a mindset of having the approach that, like, everything's your responsibility as the leader.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to delegate that responsibility to the people that they hire, and I just don't think it's very fair. Like, I need them more than they need me. You know, I couldn't do this business without them.
Yeah.
So I'm not just going to treat them like, you better do what I say or else. Because actually, if they don't do what I say, I'm broke.
Yeah.
So I really need them. And I just buy into the philosophy that if you look after people well, you grow them the right way, and you give them, you adapt their role to the best of their strengths, you're going to be better off as a business owner.
Yeah. And
just plug the holes. You know, that's what we always talk about in business. Like we might find really good candidates, but we're like, we've already got 4 people like you that do and think like you. They're awesome, and we love having them in the team, but we don't have anyone who does this. Yeah. And so, like, one of the systems we use, which is like disc profiling or whatever, we use one called Insights. A guy called Simon Fowler out of Tauranga does it with us.
Oh, yeah.
And it's communication styles. So similar to disc and everything, but it's just communication. And there's 4 colors like they all have and stuff, but you get a percentage of each of them sort of test. Anyway, we're a creative industry, so yellow, which is sunshine yellow, which is all like the happy, like friendly people, creatives sit in that space. Yeah. And we were skewing really yellow and red. Red's the direct, straight talking, dominant sort of personality. So me, and the account managers actually. Yeah. And then creatives are all yellow. And so we were really struggling with blues and greens, which were the much more quieter, detail orientated, more caring sort of people. Yeah. So we deliberately went out and hired those sorts of people to fill the gaps.
Interesting.
And then you just have to mold the team. So I think for a lot of people, it's like leadership is not a given. Yeah. You need to learn it. It's really hard. I was lucky to work for Intercontinental Hotels Group, who invest stupid amounts of money in their leaders. They're real, like, they've always ranked in like top places to work in the world alongside Google and things. Oh, wow. And I don't know if it's still now, who knows what their leadership is now, but when I was there, it was always a thing. And they must have poured tens of thousands, if not $100,000 into my leadership development. Yeah, wow. And so I got quite a good education on it. Yeah. But I also just think like people want to hire people, and they want those people to then go and do awesome things without their help. Yeah. And it's like, that's just not really that fair. Like, you made up this job. Yeah. You just had a thought, you know what, I need this job. So some neurons fired in your head, decided that I need to make a job. And then I got to go find someone that person better understand what I want.
Yeah. And read my mind. Yeah.
And read my mind. And I just
Yeah.
think that's crazy when you think of it like that.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, but they've said they've been an account manager before. It's like, yeah, but not in your business and your specific clientele and all the things that you have.
The way you work. Yeah. I do find it really interesting to hire on communication style because I'm like, communication is the thing that I'm like, is like at the core,
Everything.
right? Like, and how you communicate with other people and like collaborate,
100%.
everything, right?
Everything.
But it's just, in my view, such an undervalued skill.
Yeah.
And like,
Huge.
in the corporate setting and in everything really. And the point that you made about like, it's like everything from sales to communicating the value of marketing or a function or whatever to, advocating for budget, all those kinds of things. Like, why don't more companies do this?
It's just one of those things. It's a hard skill to quantify. It's a real hard skill to quantify. Like, how do you say someone's a good communicator? What's the metric
how do you measure
give?
it? Yeah.
It's real hard.
Yeah.
And our current business world is built on metrics.
And data,
And it makes sense. I get it. It's easier to manage. Like, a lot of management theory comes out of US and UK and Europe and stuff where, they're like, one of our clients in the US has 100,000 employees.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
how do you manage 100,000 employees? You need some data.
Yeah.
You can't do it all on feeling.
Yeah.
Right? You can't. Like,
Although, you could call that qualitative
yeah,
data.
well, yeah, you could try. But you know what I mean? Like, it's I get it when you're at that level. How do you change a business like that without data?
Yeah.
And a lot of the management theories that I subscribe to are quite new. Like, they're people who have done studies, organizations like Google and Facebook who have like tried to change things and spend a lot of money on social scientists to try and figure it out. Is like, how do you take something that Google just figured out 5 years ago and then apply it to a business that's been around for 90 years with 100,000 people? Like, you just can't.
Yeah.
And then how do you expect a person with 4 staff to adopt that?
Yeah.
Because they don't have the energy or the time and stuff. So I just think it's a really hard thing. I was lucky in hotels that I had my education in hotels really young, and I got I was really into it too. Like, I really like, my favorite part of the business is like leading people and managing people, and like my team will tell you, like, I really enjoy like the idea of like how I manipulate's probably a strong word, but
strongly influence.
Strongly influence their behaviors to do the things that I need them to do.
Yeah.
And some of it's like, you use words like manipulate or influence, but all it's really saying is like, what do you want? What's motivating you to get up every day? And how do I use that to drive your behavior at work to do the thing I want you to do? And that's, and I'm really fascinated by that.
It's like, well, it's a problem to solve, really. And
100%.
it's like, how do I take, you can look at the, like, there is data here. The data you're giving me is the way that you act, how you show up, those kinds of signs, whatever. And I'm just going to solve it to mold to the thing that I need in the way that suits you as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Interesting.
And there's also, it's quite hard, like, even like with my leadership team, they're pretty good actually. I can't say too many things, but like, there are things where they will do things and behave with their staff, like complain about them or say stuff or whatever it might be. I don't know, whatever. And I'm like, hang on, is this their problem or your problem? And it's like, oh, it's my problem. It's like, so then you should fix it. Not,
as in
like,
the exec team
the
member.
exec team.
Yeah, right.
I was like, then you should fix it, not them.
Yeah,
like,
right.
take responsibility for the thing that you need fixed. Don't push it onto your staff.
Can you give me an example? Are you allowed to?
Well, I mean, it's nothing different to what I was saying around like having people work to the level you want them to work at. That's the main thing. That's usually the problem, right? Like, let's say this is not the case with my account director, but our client service director, who's in his 50s, been around forever. Let's say he was going to complain about one of his 26-year-old account managers not doing things the way he'd want to. It's like, is that really their fault, or is it the fact that you've got 25 years experience on her and you've got a curse of knowledge of knowing, you don't even realize you know the things you know? Shouldn't it be your fault for not teaching her how to do it properly? Right? That should be your fault. If you can come to me and say, no, look, I've done this training program, we've worked through things and it's been a 4-month process and still no improvement. Okay, cool.
Different story.
But if you're just complaining because she's not as good as you, I know she's not as good as you. It's why you're paid $80,000 more than her. You know? That's why you're paid that. So, I mean, I'm not saying that that's a real example, but that's kind of how it always plays out. As you grow in your career, you forget that you once didn't know.
It's so true.
And then you expect everyone to know the things you know.
It's also like, you never really know what someone else is doing in their job until you experience it yourself. Right? It's like the learning by doing kind of scenario. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Love it. So, I mean, I have so many questions throughout what you've just said. I've forgotten half of them. But so, like, I guess as you've scaled and grown the team, like, what have been the challenges that you've experienced, but also maybe the wins?
Yeah. Challenges are always the biggest challenge in business is always cash flow. It doesn't matter. I don't really think it matters whatever size business. There's obviously some, Apple's got a pretty big chunk of cash they're sitting on, but like most businesses, cash flow is always going to be an issue. And for us, it's definitely one, especially at the stage of our business. The only thing that really keeps me up at night is like, all these invoices be paid by our customers before I have to pay mine. Of course. Right. And traditionally, like, we've not wanted debt in the business, so it's been all funded by the sales that we made. So we've only just started to talk to the bank about, can we have line of credit for when these dates misalign by 2 or 3 days, just so I can sleep a bit better. Otherwise that's always, when it comes to like growing people, I think it's been quite interesting. There's a rule, like it's a made up rule in some management book, but it's the 1 in 3 rule of businesses. When they grow, they have these sticking points of 1 staff, 3 staff, 10 staff, 30 staff, 100 staff, 300 staff, blah, blah, blah. And every time that you move to the next stage, you almost need to jump there. Like, you have to go 1 straight to 3, and from 3 straight to 10. And in between, you have this valley of death where you don't have enough staff to be the business you need to be, but you can't afford to have them either. And so whenever we've been in between, like when we went from 3 to 10, it was quite a difficult process. Actually, we had like 7 staff for a little while, straight after 2021 lockdowns. And it was just tough. It was just like, we're trying to do all these things now because clients are expecting it, but we don't quite have the resources. And then when you go past it, like when we're at 13, 14, we shot straight to 14. And then we're like, we've got too many people now. Like, we're not efficient. We're not working hard enough. Things are slipping because we're not trying enough, and we're getting a bit complacent. So we almost had to go from 10 straight to 30. Like, it kind of, and a lot of people are like, you grew so fast. And I was like, you actually had to build it out. But then now the problem is we're at 30 now. How do we get to 100? But what comes at each of those stages is communication changes. So when it's obviously 1 person, there's no communication. And at 3 people, it's real easy because you're next to each other. And then when you get to 10, you still have little, like, we work together, but everyone all knows. You all hear each other. You're all on the same page. You got a certain amount of clients you all work on. At 30 now, it's like, I don't know what half the team does day to day because it's not my job to know, and I have to let them be able to do their thing. And so, like, a good example today is I had a client who came in to see us, and I had to explain to him that I dropped the ball by, like, me and the creative team had ran through starting to create content, but didn't tell the account manager, who spoke to him yesterday and was like, he blew them up. Well, didn't blow them up, but he's like, where's this new strategy and stuff? And they're like, we're still working on it. But us and the creative team had like already marched forward, just because we hadn't found time to talk to them on what we needed, because they were busy, we were busy, and all this sort of stuff. And I said, look, it's just, we got these growing pains of, we're at this 30, our communication lines aren't rigid enough yet. And so we have been working on putting these things in place. Dom, who's our new client service director, that's been a big thing of getting him in to do. But that's a big concern. It's like the communication, which is why we hire in communication, is that it's paramount to everything. Like, you can't do anything without good communication. And those communication, the lines of communication and the way you communicate change in the types and the levels of business. But you can only imagine going from 30 to 100, how that changes again, and so on and so on. So that's probably my second biggest thing, because communication slows things down. Like, when you have bad communication, it slows stuff down. When you slow stuff down, you lose money. And so it ultimately all affects the bottom line. I find it so interesting, because I've personally been a part of companies that have grown from like kind of the 8-10 mark up to like 30ish, really. And I've seen that in practice. And it's so true in the sense that, like, just the way and the style that you communicate is completely different, because you've got more layers. And then actually if you go take a layer out, it's like, are we way more efficient? It's like, more people, it's not always more efficient, right? It's not, Like, even like copying everyone into an email. It's
Yeah.
like people are like, do not copy me into these emails. You know,
Yeah.
they don't even want to be copied in. When you're a 10, everyone can just be copied into everything.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah,
matter
it's
because
so
there's only
true.
so many emails going around anyway.
Yeah.
34, if everyone did that, people just turn off their inbox,
Yeah,
right?
literally start ignoring it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's quite difficult, but yeah, I think it's, for us at least, we put it at the forefront so that we are trying to always fix it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Nice. And so you kind of mentioned this in terms of, so it's been fully bootstrapped until now. Are you planning to raise money or like to get to your growth goals?
Not for attention seeker.
Okay.
We probably won't. Like there is potential for potentially like some staff and things like that in terms of letting a couple staff buy in small amounts and things just because, but that's even not on the cards right now. It's just some conversations we had. It will only really take investment for other brands. So like, as I mentioned off camera, like the newsletter, we definitely will run it through a VC model where we'll get investors in to help it grow. What we're doing at the moment is just trying, like we're in the startup mode, just proving the MVP of it and that it can work, that we know how to acquire the subscribers and that we know how to sell the advertising. Now we just need money to put fuel on it. That I would. Because it's got an ability to scale way faster. Because actually the team we've got doing it could still do it at 1 million subscribers, the ones that are doing 10,000. So you don't actually need more people, but you can make a lot more money. Probably just a salesperson is all you're really having.
Okay.
Whereas for my business, like if someone gave me another $10 million to, of course I could grow it. But I still got to go out and find those clients, and like brands don't just like change agency all the time and things like that. Our brand's already one of the biggest like on social media of all agencies globally.
Wow.
So it's like how many more people, like we just need time and market. Like Ogilvy will beat us because they've been around for hundreds of years, 100 years or whatever as a group, some form or another. That time and market's just so powerful. You're not going to beat those big guys quickly. So I don't actually think the scaling problem for the agency is people. It's brand. It's like, how do I get people to trust us when we're so still young and new? They're not going to trust us just because someone gave us $10 million. That's not going to make them trust us anymore. You know, we need to deliver and continuously deliver and continue to have results. And we're of the opinion that we don't want to go after any awards. We just decided a long time ago that we're not. Let's just let the proof be in the pudding. And so our clients have gone and won awards of the work that we've done, but we've never accepted them or taken them. And so we have to find a way to build our brand and trust with our audience in our way, which is build our brand. How do we do the thing we're going to do for you, but do it for us first? And so I don't think there's any reason to take investment for us necessarily. The only way I would do it and have talked about in the past is just rolling up other companies, like just buy up other agencies, buying revenue essentially and talent. I don't know. I'm not sure if we really need to.
Fair enough.
As you were talking about the newsletter, I was thinking for anyone listening who might be, a business owner or kind of be like, why would you monetize that? Or like, how is that even a product? How would you explain your thinking around that?
I mean, it's newspaper. How does stuff make money? I mean, maybe some of them aren't making money right now, but like globally, they've always made money. Media companies, a lot of the media companies have just been, I wouldn't say mismanaged, just like adapted too slow, probably to the new monetary systems for this monetization of media. And it's just a media company. It's just we have 10,000 subscribers. We have a 45% open rate on it, and like a 4.5% click-through rate. So therefore, a certain percentage of people are reading and clicking on it. Do you want to be in front of those eyeballs? And with the newsletter being targeted at small business owners and marketing people, marketing professionals, that's an audience that lots of businesses want to target, and quite a hard one to target too. Marketing professionals is really hard to actually go after. Because like
they just see so much advertising. They're like, no.
They get it. They get advertising really well.
They're like, you're selling me something.
And where do they all go? Like, where are all these people? They're all so different. Actually.
So true.
And so, like, where do you find them? And actually, like, to be honest, funnily enough, like, our approach to that on TikTok and social media was like, actually, they're there to watch good, funny content, like good, entertaining stuff, because they get so much crap they're fed on socials that these marketing professionals, like, we get so much of our audience are marketing professionals because they're like, we love your content because it's fun and whatever, and we get that you're in our world and like-minded. So actually for a lot of businesses who go after marketing managers, they find it quite difficult outside of performance because it's a B2B sale, right?
Yeah.
And it's quite a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
So therefore, people listening, if you have an audience that other people want, they'll pay to be in front of them. And so our goal now is just to go, well, how do we build a product, being the newsletter, that people actually enjoy reading and coming back and it's good?
Yeah.
And it's not a selling, like we don't just sell all day in it. Like, yeah, it's advertising around here, but it's quite unobtrusive and it's just there. And they're things that we're in testing mode at the moment, but they're just there and just trying. But the content's really good.
Yeah.
And then if we can do that, then eventually build up a large enough audience that people pay significant money for it. And people will. Like people will pay significant. Email, databases, like if you can get good open rates and good click-through rates, that proves that it's a very valuable audience for people that they will pay really good money to be in.
Yeah, it's kind of like Morning Brew, The Hustle,
Absolutely.
like all of those
No
kind
different
of.
to them.
Yeah.
In fact, like we, Matt McGarry, who is behind Morning Brew and Hustle and 1440 and all those big ones, he is the sort of strategic mind behind a lot of those. Those guys all hired him to do it.
Wow.
We put Charlotte, who's our editor, through his courses. She's like in his community group so that she can ask him direct questions.
Yeah.
We use Beehive, which is a platform he suggested for growth. I mean, he's obviously invested in it, but it's not a platform designed for like sales.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like one where you try to get people to sign up to whatever you're selling. It's literally designed for getting the most readership possible. It's all geared towards that.
Yeah.
So so like Morning Brew was a bit of an inspiration on how they did it and what they did, and you know, selling for $75 million or whatever they sold for when they did it, and things like
crazy. Yeah.
That's the model, right? Is being able to do that. If there is a idea that like we get to a point one day where it might be too big of a lead gen for the attention seeker to sell it, because it's becoming
so
that
valuable. Yeah, right.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Oh no, we'll cross that bridge. But 75 million, or maybe I'm changing my mind.
How good's the retirement looking?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, love it. Okay, so last one on the financial side of the business. I obviously did a little bit of digging before this interview, and I listened to a podcast recently where you talked about the transparent salary kind of policy that you have internally. Yep. Could you firstly share about what your views are and how that kind of works?
Yeah, so I actually started this in hotels. One of the things in hotel groups, for a lot of the hotel groups, is they have transparent P&Ls. Yeah. Very transparent. Like usually they get sent out. Yeah, it's quite a normal thing in hotel groups, Intercontinentals, Event Hospitality, all the ones I work for.
So everyone in the company can see where is that to like drive like business owner mindset kind of?
Pretty much, mostly because like it's so segmented in departments that department heads are responsible for their own P&Ls.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a real like decentralization of that. And I was just like smart enough to know that like when you looked at it, well, I can tell what everyone's getting paid.
Yeah.
Because you can see it in the P&L if you know where to look. And so then I used to teach the staff, like, just so you know, if anyone wants to know, they can know your salary because we do this.
Yeah.
And they hadn't really thought about it. And I was like, so we may as well just let everyone know. And therefore we stop people second guessing who's getting paid more, who's getting paid less, am I getting paid fairly and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then what it initially did is it took away that like there's often a feeling inside a business when you're working alongside someone that they're getting paid more than you, and you don't know how to ask them, and you're not sure if they are, and then you might then get some resentment thinking they're getting paid so much more, or they might just be senior, and you think they're getting paid twice as much as you. You don't really understand the levels and how they're paid, and so you get resentment for it, and you're like, I want to be paid more because they're paid heaps. But if you know what they're paid, and often that's not the case. Often people aren't paid. I mean, there's obviously, C-suites in certain places that are, but like in most businesses, when you are working directly, your direct reports and vice versa, the salaries aren't that different actually. At worst, you might get a doubling of it if you got a senior leader directly reporting to someone. So one, it makes people realize, okay, so that's what I'm my future looks like as well. I could potentially get to that salary. Okay, am I happy with that? Or is this not my career path?
Yeah.
I'd rather you know now than come apply for a job and ask for more money and be like, mate, you're way off the mark.
Yeah.
So at least everyone now knows where the career path goes, like where we're headed and how I could get to that point. So that's one. That transparency gives me knowledge, and knowledge is power, right? So if I know now as an employee, I know where I'm headed and do I want to be here. The second thing is because the P&L shared alongside it all, like in my staff, like we did a session with them going, it was so 10, we have a 10x session every Friday, 3:30 to 5. It's a learning session we do with the team every Friday, because no one works after 3:30 on a Friday, right? You guys probably don't. You probably wheel out a cart. I know financial companies. If the wines come out. Also, it's the same.
Like, literally, we have a bar cart you go around with.
Do you? Yeah, I know what financial services bloody do. So same as lawyers. No one works after 3:30 on a Friday, right? So our thing was, we don't do that, because I don't drink, but we don't do that. Yeah. But I said, no one's going to work. Yeah. Everyone slacks off. Yeah. So let's teach them something. Yeah. And so I did a session on how to get a pay rise. And it teaches, cool. It teaches the team. It's like, you can see the P&L, you can see our cash flow forecast. You can't come and ask me for a pay rise if there's no money. Like, where am I going to get it from? Like, I can't pull it out if there isn't one. Yeah. And so that transparency allows them to go, Stan, this department's making so much money, and I've directly been responsible for it, so I want more as well to be compensated. And fair enough. And one of our team members, Connor, he did that to me, and he got a $12,000 pay rise, $12,500 pay rise, because he figured it out and he did some stuff. And I was like, yeah, you have made me about 50 grand this year. Here's a quarter of it. Yeah. Because that would have extrapolated and continued, right? So,
sorry, just quickly on that, my brain goes to, well, how do you quantify that? Because if it's like also brand, like.
So in his particular case, it was around his efficiencies with his team and production, and he was able to get them to we had a certain amount of time it took them to do certain tasks, and he managed to reduce that by a certain amount, which stopped us having to hire someone fully. And so he was like, in this 9 months, we should have hired someone. I was able to reduce, by me coaching and teaching my team to edit better, we were able to reduce the editing time, which allowed us to get more done, which meant you didn't have to hire someone, which meant we saved this much money. Yeah. And I'm right, Stan. And I was like, yeah, I do. Like, I did. And he documented the whole thing. Because a year ago, he asked for a pay rise, and I told him, no, this is what you need to do. So he went about and did it. And a year later, he got it. And so it gives them the opportunity to figure out. Not everyone's savvy enough to figure that out. I get it. But then also when people come in to work for us and we say to them, what's your salary expectation? Yeah. And they say, it's 80 grand. My answer is always like, okay, like it's within the number I can afford. It's in my budget. So yes, you can have that. And then that's it. End of story. Okay. Like I don't want to talk about money with you for at least a year. Yeah. Because you said you're willing to do this job for that money. So let's leave it at that. Yeah. And you're going to come in and see everyone else and what they're on. Yeah. And I know they're on the same amount because that's where the budget was anyway. Yeah. Let's stop talking about money and talk about your growth instead. Yeah. There is to add to that, there's a lot of studies done on salary transparency and the benefits that come with it. And look, I can't quote to all of them, but there's quite a number of businesses who are doing it more and more and have seen that it actually ends up. It's not necessarily around saving money or making money or whatever. It's around there's a lot of pain and animosity and confusion around pay. It's a real, obviously, it's a huge thing for people to understand. Am I being paid fairly? Yeah. A huge security thing for people. Yeah. And if they can then benchmark that across everyone else and understand the way through it, it takes a lot of that pressure off of them. Yeah. And to my staff who come in and be like, I want a pay rise. And I've said, we've told you how to do this and where are you going to get the money from and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, I just think I should. And I was like, well, look, why don't I help you write a really good CV and we'll go find you a job in the job market that'll pay you the money that you want. And like, yeah, but I want to work here. And I was like, okay, but you know how to get a pay rise here and it's not there. Yeah. I really want to hold you as a staff member, but I understand your concern. You need more money. Yeah. You got your own personal financial situation. I get it. Don't let this emotional state of you wanting to work for me be this barrier for you to get your financial goals. Yeah, right. Don't let that be a thing. Don't put that pressure on me. Yeah, because the business told you, you can see it. I'm not hiding from you. You can see the bank account. Yeah. You can see everything. Yeah. Tell me how to get you paid more and I'll pay you more. Yeah. But if you can't, I can't just pull it out. Yeah. You do the same job as this person. Do you really think you're worth $10,000 more than them? Yeah, right. Well, no, but I think I need it. okay, so then everyone should get it if you get it at the same level.
Yeah.
So how do we get $60,000?
Yeah.
Tell me. Tell me and I'll do it. Like I'd have, because if I'm paying you 60, I'm probably getting 200 or, so tell me, I'm all for. I'm all ears. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I just think there's a lot of study. Buffer is a really interesting business that does it. Do you know Buffer?
Buffer, it's, what is it? Like
their
content
scheduling.
Yeah.
On their website, they have it. That's all there. You can see
for the
every single staff member's salary, and they have a calculator that shows you. They actually do all their salaries via calculator.
Right.
So before you even apply, you can go put in your details on the calculator because they're a fully remote team.
Yeah.
Different places get paid, but they got like location bonesses and stuff if you live in New York and whatever.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Because of the cost of living, basically.
Cost of living stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it'll tell you this is what we'll pay you if you work for us. They've been transparent almost since day one, and there's a lot of study being done on it too, and what it's affecting their culture and things.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, like there's a lot to it. There's lots of reasons not to do it as well. So I'm not saying it's the be all and end all, but for me, it's worked quite well over the years to just have those tough conversations around money to say, look, it's not actually that tough. We all know the deal. This is where it's at. I'd love to pay you more. Let's find out how.
Yeah. It's very value based in terms of like you add value to the business that comes out in form of salary basically. Yeah. Because if you add value, you would create revenue.
Yeah, exactly. And look, some people, one of the concerns that people have is like not everyone knows how to do that as their job, and that's fine, and I get it. So then it's like, well, if you guys all think you should be paid more, like account managers are a really good example because they're real people-focused people and project management, but not necessarily like business-minded. Yeah. So like sitting with them and working out how do we shift you up. Like, how do we get you to that limit as a level, as a team? Yeah. I can help you solve the problem, but you guys have specialized knowledge in your roles that I don't have. So let us work together to figure out how do we get more value out of you guys. Yeah. So that the business can afford it. You know, I'm happy. Like I said, if I'm paying my staff more, I'm making more. Yeah.
It's the happy days.
Because I'm not just going to give you more of this nothing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we're all winning.
Yeah. It's also interesting around like roles that aren't directly linked to revenue as well. So, I mean, I think about a traditional finance company, you've got like ops, tech, product, marketing, CS, sales. Yeah. Like typically CS sales, marketing. How do you quantify that for something like ops?
Yeah. Oh, it's
I can see how it would be challenging.
It's so hard, but there's not just revenue. It's only one side of the equation, right? Expenses is the other side. So how do you reduce expenses? How do you do more for less? Yeah, you know what I mean.
So optimize basically, or streamline.
Exactly. How do you better your processes? How do you, like as a leader, how do you multiply the effect of your team by making them 10% efficient? You make your 8 direct reports 10% efficient. You know, we've just got an eighth of a person, 80% of a new person come on board essentially, right? Yeah. So that would have cost me as we grew $70,000. Yeah. Okay, you just gave the company $70,000 worth of value because we don't need to hire someone as soon as we would have. Yeah. You know what I mean? So people don't value the role that leadership and development has on people. Yeah. And investing that time to grow your staff. So my leadership team is like constantly reminded of that. Like your skill as a leader is to multiply your team's output by making them more efficient, by making them more talented or knowledgeable or whatever. Yeah. Which is why when we do these like 10X sessions that we do on Fridays, or we have morning briefing every morning where we do micro learnings and things. Yeah. For me, that investment, like we did a calculation I did. I don't know if you saw the post, but our morning briefings, which is 30 minutes a day for the whole team, and our 10X at the end on a Friday, adds up to, at the moment, it's $500,000 a year. So in wages. So it cost me $500,000 to do these like learning moments, right? It's the best investment we make by far. The amount of multiplication in the skill sets and the communication and the confidence in the team is huge. Like you can't quantify, it's too much. The only reason we're able to grow at the speed we're growing is because people are getting like this constant learning and reinforcement and doing things better and iterating. So I've obviously had a bit of practice at being a leader and knowing and investing in that way, but it's the same thing I'd say to the junior leaders or the mid-management. It's like, you've got a team of 6. How do you get more out of them? If you can get more out of them, well, you know we have to hire in the future. So what if we didn't have to hire one more person? You know, one less person is $80,000. Yeah. Whatever.
So a good cost saving. Yeah. So how do you as the leader stay like, what about your growth? In terms of you obviously need to add value to the company as well.
For me, my own personal growth,
you mean? Yeah. And like obviously your career has taken you to a certain point and then you start the business, huge learnings with that. Yeah. But to get like from the 30 to 100 or 100 to 300?
Yeah, I think there's a number of things that you have to do. I think you have to figure out where do you want to grow to as well, like be realistic in how far you want to stay in control.
Yeah.
And I'm not really sure if I want to go to the 1,000-person number CEO. Like maybe not even 300.
Yeah.
I'd probably have a CEO come in after the 100, and I'd just be above them.
Yeah.
So there's that understanding where you need to get to. Do
Yeah.
I really want to be that level? I really like the scrappy part of the business building as well. Do I just go off and start another little startup and have some CEO run it? So that's something.
Yeah.
The other thing is like I think that there are certain levels where you have to get professional help to grow.
Yeah.
But then outside of those levels, there's enough book and YouTubes and podcasts and things that you can learn from. Like the
Consumer
access
way.
to knowledge is I read at least a book a week.
Yeah.
I use
Is this when you're not sleeping? You're like, give me the book.
well, like I do it when I run or walk or gym.
Oh yeah, okay.
Like whenever I
listening.
exercise, I listen to an Audible.
Yeah.
And I take in it that way. I list like, if you look at my YouTube subscription list, it's all like educational. It's like a SciShow or like Crash Course or Kurzgesagt or like all these like educational. And people are like, that's not even anything to do with marketing. I was like, I'm not a marketer. I'm a business owner. Like my team of marketers, I'm a business owner. I just understand what marketing is used for because I run a business. But I like, today we had a client in and we're having a catch up and we didn't even do any whip stuff. We just like talked about monetary policy.
Oh yeah.
And I was trying to, and just money in general, I was trying to explain to her what the fiat money system was.
Oh yeah.
And she, at the end of it, she was like, why did we just like, how do you know this stuff?
Yeah, when
I was
you
like,
learn
I
this?
just learnt this off our Crash Course. And she's like, what's Crash Course? I was like, anyway. So anyway, my point of that story is like, I'm really curious.
Yeah.
Like I'm very curious. My, like to my wife, like she's always like, how do you know, why, when do you have the time to even read all this stuff? But it's just saying I'm constantly doing it. I think that the ability to learn is a skill.
Yeah.
I think it's a muscle that we forget too as we grow older. We
Yeah.
stop learning as much, so we forget how to learn. So for me, part of our work we do with the team is teach them how to learn as well. So we teach them other things that they don't necessarily need to learn,
Right.
but it's flexing the learning muscle.
Yeah.
So that they're constantly trying to seek answers to things. And I think that's the thing I do a lot of, so that when I go in to find the thing I want to learn, I can absorb the knowledge really well. Outside of that self-guided learning, I'm really okay with I'm really confident with going and getting professional help, doing what I need. I'm lucky to have like quite a number of clients who are very good at what they do in their field and, bludging off their knowledge for free kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, it's your network, right?
Exactly.
It's the power. Yeah.
Yeah. And like doing more like structured coursework as well. Like I'm not opposed to doing it. I think there's stages that you need it though. Like I think there's stages that you go to. I think probably, once we hit that sort of 100-person mark, I would probably want to go do some more leadership coaching and training, just how to manage that sort of team that are mine. Like I've done in hotels, but it's a very different world when you've built it from nothing. Typically in hotels, you walk into a 200, 300 person team and it's a different mindset to take over than one that you've built to that stage.
Yeah, right.
So, I couldn't say enough how much I spend my day learning things. I'm just like, I don't know. I'm a little bit obsessed with it. Kind of.
It's good though. I mean, like clearly it's worked for you today as well, you know. And I think there's a kind of this structure, I guess. It's like 60% learning or like
doing,
30%.
Like
doing, and then 30% on the. It's like mentorship, and then 10% like learning. And it's all about how you apply it. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's definitely that. I'm very big on like. We talk about this a lot in our team about failing fast sort of things, like just trying stuff. Like I'm really okay with throwing shit at the wall. Yeah. Like when Joni first started with us and I told her she needed to build the TikTok up, when I first hired, we weren't doing any TikTok. We were just doing LinkedIn and I hired a TikToker and she had 400,0and followers at the time.
Did she? Wow.
Yeah, she had like blown up because of her wedding. When she shaved her head and did all this stuff.
Yeah.
And when she first started, I was like, I want to build the MCU. And she was like, what? And I was like, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. She's like, wait.
Sorry, what?
The Marvel Cinematic Universe. Okay. You know how, so the Marvel Cinematic Universe, for those who don't know, is just Marvel, all their movies are all linked, all one big story, but they all like interswap and change, right?
Okay.
And so my thing when I built this company and my brand, I was like, all the brands I own and am part of or work with, I want people to know it's all one world. They all live in one universe. That's mine.
That's so funny.
And so it's all links. And so if you really look at the work we've done, you can see the signature of it all, which people start to understand. Without us, you'll never tell us to talk. You never hear us talking about our clients a lot. Like we very rarely, you'll never see on our website who our clients are and stuff, but you know, because you're like, this is very coded attention seeker. And so she was like, what the hell have I got myself into? And I was like, she's like, I don't know how to do that, Stan. I'm not Kevin Feige from Marvel and Disney. How do I do this? And I said to her, so what you're going to do is you're going to make 10 TikToks every day and you're just going to put them out and see what happens. And she was like, that is insane. I can't do that. And anyway, we worked to it. She eventually got to that point of doing 10 TikToks a day. But even in the first 6 months, we grew 300,000 followers.
Yeah, wow.
And it was just throwing shit at a wall.
That is wild.
For me, I think there's I think the main thing for people when they throw shit at a wall where they could potentially go wrong is that they don't actually look at what went wrong.
Yeah.
They just try something else.
So it's the reflection piece.
Yeah. Reflection piece is huge.
We were literally talking about this today, about how as a team, like how important stopping and reflecting and then taking those learnings and applying them is to the journey.
We actually had to talk about it with one of the account managers yesterday about how important it is to do it like hourly. Like most people go, she actually came to me. She's like, when do I think I should put in the first retrospective for this particular client? Yeah. She's like, should I do it in January? I was like, no, you should do it. We should do it right now. She's like, what do you mean? She said, don't we need everyone else? I was like, you and I can do it. There's 6 posts that have gone up already. Let's break it down. Yeah. And she's like, yeah, but then what do we do? I was like, and then you do it again tomorrow. And she's like, but what does that mean? I was like, because we have the ability to change the edit tomorrow. Yeah. So what if surely we learned something today. Can't we change it tomorrow? Yeah. And she's like, yeah, but it's already been edited. I was like, yeah, but how long does it take to re-edit? Like 12 minutes? Just change it. Yeah. What if you got 20 times the result tomorrow? Boom. Instead of waiting until January. Yeah. You know, and she's like, oh, okay. Well, yeah, I guess we could. And I was like, yeah, I think like, so I think a lot of people they look at retrospective stuff as like, we should make this part of our process and like once a month or whatever. And like my thing's just like, do you know what happened yesterday? Yeah. Because if you don't, what are you doing? Like, if you don't know what happened yesterday, what are you doing today? Yeah. Like, I don't know how you possibly are starting your job today if you don't know what happened yesterday. Yeah. The problem is that because the hardest thing to start, is let's say you started now. Yeah. And you haven't done, say, retrospective for a month or two. Let's just pretend. Yeah. That's 2 months of stuff you got to catch up on. Yeah. But once you get it in the habit of doing it daily, it's like a 7-minute process. Well, how deep do you go? Because, does it depend on the scale of the task as well? Yeah, of course. It depends on the scale of the task and what you got to try to do and whatnot. What is the thing you're trying to figure out and whatnot. And so, of course, it's different. It's relative to everything that you need to do. And obviously, the higher up the food chain you go, the more things that you've got to handle on. Yeah. You need to start to find out how do you delegate that retrospective look. Right. But for me, it's what is the core metric I'm trying to move that I need to worry about, and then delegate the rest. So, as an example, for me, the brand is a big part because in our business, my core responsibilities are brand and sales. Yeah. And when I say brand strategy and direction, as opposed to execution, and then sales, I'm the only salesperson in the team. Yeah. And so when I'm looking back, every day I look, what did the guys do yesterday? How did it perform? Where are we headed? Yeah, right. And then making suggestions with them every day on it. And how do we go? Oh, that's the internal meeting I got with Joni, right? Today yeah. Is like we have a set meeting to go for the bigger stuff, but there's lots of like mine and Joni's group chat or Laura or our account manager is constant. This is where we're at. Yeah. So yeah, I'm a huge believer in like looking back to know how to go forward. Yeah. And if you do that enough, you learn really fast. Like it's mental, the knowledge I have on social media now that I didn't have 4 years ago. Like I wasn't a social media guy 4 years. I ran hotels. But I can tell you, I know like just dumb stuff about social media right now that I just like, how do I know that? Just file that away. Yeah. Future use maybe. Just because I'm constantly there. Yeah. Constantly on it, practitioner of it, understand it. Yeah. I'm not saying I'm the best in the world, but not by a long shot. But coming from like how to change a bed sheet to knowing how to dominate a social media platform, like it's been a journey. Yeah. But it's been because of this constant daily iteration. Yeah. It is really the like compounding of small habits. Yeah. It's like the what's the
habit book that is slipping.
James Clear, Atomic Habits.
Yeah, literally. It's the compounding effect of that over time to get to something
absolutely.
great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, chip away at the whole 1% better thing.
Yeah. Last question, because I know you need to work. But so confidence.
Yeah.
Like through all this, it sounds like you've got a lot of self-belief. Like that's what I'm...
arrogant. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, look at me. I'm getting fucking turned up in shorts and a t-shirt. I'm arrogant as shit.
No, well, but there's a difference between arrogance and like confidence, right?
Of course.
Where does it come from? How do you foster it? What would you say to someone that is not, feeling as confident as maybe they should be?
No, I know what you're saying. Like there is confidence, and like the difference for me why it's not really arrogance is because I have no real ego either. Like I just don't really care. I don't mind taking the piss out of myself as well.
Yeah, you literally just did it.
I just did it. Yeah. But I think like I have done a lot of soul searching. Maybe is the right thing. I've weeded the. So I've never cared what other people think of me ever. I just don't care what you think of me. It doesn't weigh on me at all, and I'm happy to move forward with it. Which is how I've been able to do dumb stuff like get a tattoo of Joni in New York, right, for social media and live stream the whole thing to 50,000 people. But so it's like why is that? And my wife Claire is not like that. Is almost the opposite of me. Probably cares too much what people think of her.
Yeah.
And we've got these videos going viral at the moment on the Skin Deep show, which is an American show we're on, and they're like getting 8 million views every time they go, and she can't read the comments because she's worried what people might say.
Yeah, right.
It's all positive, but she can't do it, right? So I'm the opposite. So then I looked, and what I kind of got to with one of my clients who helped me sort of retrospectively look at it, he was like, we got to the point that I was a middle child. So there's 4 boys in my team, in my family. I was the second youngest. So I was already a middle child. So I wasn't the youngest. I wasn't the oldest. I wasn't the black sheep of the family who was the other middle child. He was that proper black sheep, did all the bad stuff.
Right.
I was just like run of the mill, just like under the radar, not really seen.
Yeah.
At school, I was never in a clique, right? Like I'm too white to be one of the Islander kids, like who I am, but I'm too brown to be one of the white kids. I was not one of the Indian kids. I was not one of the sporty kids. I was not, I didn't fit in this clique.
Yeah.
And all my friends were the same. Like we used to talk about how like we were the clique of cliques, that there was like almost one of us from all the other cliques, and we had our own little crew. And so so all of those sorts of things made me realize like I never belonged to a group. I never did. I never felt like I belonged part of any group. So I never developed any group think. I never developed like I identify as this type of person. I only ever identified as Stanley, always and ever. And so I don't know what it is to have shame with other people the same way other people do, because other people identify as in groupthink, and that's normal for humans. That's what made us survive. Yeah, is that whereas groupthink, I'm like you, we're like each other, therefore we like each other.
Yeah,
but I didn't really grow that when I was young, and so I've only ever cared about Stanley as the group of one.
Yeah.
So therefore, like, no one can ever mock me for being Stanley, because it's like, who are you comparing me to?
Yeah.
There is no one else in my group except me. And it was a kind of heavy retrospective that I got to that point where I was like, oh, that's why I'm an arrogant prick. Because, like, I don't see myself at all. And this is why I sound arrogant when I say it. This will clip this one out. I just don't think anyone else in the world, like, I'm like proper millennial right now, right? There's no one else in the world who sits with me.
As not on from a level, but just like a uniqueness. Yeah.
I just never thought I belonged in part of a group.
But couldn't you say that applies to everyone, because everyone is like unique in their own way?
Yeah, but people don't think that way.
No, they don't.
No,
yeah,
that's the problem.
It's the mindset.
Yeah, it's the mindset.
Yeah.
Our baby boomers mothers as a millennial told us that we were unique and special, but most people didn't really believe it.
No,
and they found out the hard way that wasn't true.
Yeah.
When they realized,
or they validated it.
Yeah, and so like for me, it was just I just never had this group think. I still don't really have it. And I've met other people like who like Joni. I've talked about her a bit, but just because most people know her face, but her and I are very much the same. She's very similar to me and has had a similar process growing up where she doesn't. And there's other people like that in my life I've met. And when I now talk to them about it, they're like, that is true. That is who I am. So the confidence comes from not caring what anyone else thinks. And I don't care what anyone else thinks because I've never really had a group to belong to compare to.
Yeah.
I've only ever been able to compare to me. And in my mind, I'm very much better than I was yesterday.
Yeah.
So therefore, you can't say I'm bad because I'm better than the Stanley yesterday.
Yeah.
And so that's it.
You're evolving. Yeah. So how does Claire like manage that? I guess.
Oh,
Is that a whole nother podcast?
oh, just about. That's couples therapy. Claire is... I mean, she obviously loves it. That's why she married me, I think.
Yeah.
But she also, like, so she's grown her confidence with me, being with me, because she's been able to go, it doesn't actually matter what other people think of me, does it? Like, we're in a marriage together. I actually only need you to care about me, not
so
everyone
true.
else. But then she's also rubbed off on me a bit, which has softened my arrogance to go, you don't need to care what other people think, Stan, but you also don't need to intentionally make their life hell because you don't care what they think about you. So you should just be a better person, you know, because you don't care, but they do. And why should you get to walk around and do whatever you want? They should also be able to like live in a world where they don't have you being that person to them. And so she softened my arrogance a lot of going like, it's actually cool to be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind. Yeah.
Cool
Love
to be
it.
kind. That's the word. I don't even know what it is because it's a new thing for me.
Well, it sounds like you guys are yin and yang, which is perfect.
Yeah, we're very much yin and yang. You couldn't get two more opposite people, which is why we love each other so much.
Yeah, it's funny, my partner's a middle child, and I'm I reckon it's a middle child thing. It's like the forgotten one that just does their thing, like paths their own way, like
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Love it. Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for jumping on the podcast. I really enjoyed our chats, and I'm definitely going to be following the newsletter and
awesome.
everything to keep getting all the nuggets.
Yeah.
Where can people find you if they want to jump over?
To be honest, like if you search Stanley Henry or The Attention Seeker, you'll find us.
Yeah.
It's been a goal of my life to take over Henry Morton Stanley on Google because as growing up, he always run. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's the guy who said Dr. Livingstone, I presume. I don't know if you've heard that saying, but you're too young. It's a very famous thing. He found a guy, Dr. Livingstone, and when you search Stanley Henry, he used to be the thing that came up. And so now I come up, and I'm very proud of
love that.
So if just search me. I'm on all platforms. Cool. The Attention Seekers, you'll find us the same on everything. And if you want the newsletter, it's Your Attention, please.